Hey, welcome back to another Adventures with Peps. Today we are painting a 2000 AD Warlord Games Futsie character. Futsie? I'm not sure how you pronounce it. But these characters suffer from the future shock syndrome, which is a terrible condition that afflicts 7% of the 2000 AD population. Now, before I talk a bit more about that, you're going to see me pull out the pallid bone. This is to start colouring in his flesh. We will use some Crusader flesh tones later, but I wanted something light to begin with. But what is a future shock syndrome? Well, to put it simply, it's the pressure of life building up on the citizen. They just can't handle living in the future any longer, and they just flip, and they retreat into a fantasy world where they see everyone as the enemy. They are immensely dangerous, and because of their sickness, they are intensely violent and erratic, and on the surface, though they may seem calm and all too normal, underneath, they are a boiling pot of disaster. A typical sufferer will carefully, meticulously procure a weapon, plan out their plans, then climb to a good vantage point and start shooting away at anyone or anything they see. They seem to develop a death wish, but also a desire to keep fighting until they view all their enemies as dead. Wow. In the RPG Games Workshop days, they had the rule never surrender, and they had pretty good stats. They're on par with a punk. Well, I guess a low-level Juve now and again, a punk. They could probably be on par with some low-level City Death militia. Weapon-wise, though, they had access to some pretty good stuff in the RPG. They could probably get used to roll a lot of random things, so we'll have to work out how we do this one. But they could get things like Disintegrator, a handgun, scattergun, spit carbine, spit pistol. They also had sometimes the option to have a bike cannon, a grenade launcher, a laser cannon, sonic cannon, or a street cannon. Now, in the comics, they declare that it wasn't a case of them having procured the actual weapon itself, more a case of some home build that they've got. Now, the model itself that's from Warlord Games, it's a beautiful model, very crisp, as you can see. As you can see. He seems to be armed with a meat tenderizer and a power drill. Two weapons that you don't find in the RPG. So we'll work out how we're claiming them. Probably be like a club for the meat tenderizer, that makes sense. The drill, though, maybe a las cutter or something like that. We'll have a look through the rules. Be sure to check out my community posts, because that's where I am going to put his stats for the RPG with some final pictures of him. So I hope you'll join along. Now, in his painted artwork by Warlord Games, there's a lot of yellow on the model. I'm not going to go as yellow. For example, on his trousers, there's some paneling that they do as yellow. I'm not doing that. I'm going to go for a full solid blue look once we get there. But right now we are doing the hardened leather. I'm going to catch his boots. I'm going to catch his belt. I'm going to make him look like a proper little citizen of Mega City One. I'm trying to go bright and bold. I got Games Workshop for the Grimdark. I don't need my Judge Dredd being Grimdark. So I'm going to be picking some pretty bold colours for this guy. Thinking his coat is reminding me of like a gilet or a puffer coat, but I want to go bright, so I'm thinking I'm going to have to hit up the orange for that. But we'll see that all in a bit. So with the belt and the boots done, we can let that dry for a bit. Now we're on to Runic Grey. We're going to use this to paint the meat tenderizer and part of the drill bit, and probably his belt buckle. I love Runic Grey. I think you can just already see it's going on really nicely onto the model. Picking up all the deep recesses. It's such a great colour for metal. How I lived before having this colour, I'm not entirely sure. But it's probably my most used colour in the paint set. And with the belt buckle picked out, we're pretty much done with the runic grey. Now we are onto the Cloud Burst Blue. This isn't the first time you've seen this paint. I use it on the Judge as their main bodysuit colour. I'm going to be using it on this model for his trousers. What I'm hoping to achieve is a denim look. Nice and dark. I'm going to try and avoid using any dark wash on it. I'm also going to make sure that certain areas have been wiped a bit more, just to make it look a little faded, a little worn, just like proper denim would look like. As I was painting this model, I was getting weird Jack Nicholson vibes from The Shining. I think it's just because I've read the book recently. But this guy, he looks like he was a handyman of some sort, and he's gone a little bit crazy. Maybe he's been looking after a ISO block that's all alone, seeing some ghosts in the room, and it's finally shook him to the core. And with the final touches going on, we can declare that colour done. This dark blue, it's pretty well rounded. As I mentioned, it works well as the Judge's bodysuit, it works well as denim. But yeah, I need to work out a name for this guy. What am I going to call him? He needs to come from a Dan Abnett book. I need to work out what or who the character could be. Is there somebody in Gaunt's Ghost that goes a bit loopy? Can't think of anyone in Eisenhorn off the top of my head, but we'll have a little look through my notes and see what we can come up with. Now we are going Hive Dweller Purple. I have yet to use this colour. This is going to be its first outing. Interesting to see how it dries, because I've got a bunch of Gene Stealers that need painting up. Obviously, if this is a good colour, then I am going to save a lot of time when I come around to working on them. It's going on pretty well. It's got a great pigment to it. It's actually not as runny as I thought it was going to be. Maybe I should have used some medium on it. Yeah, that's gone on really well. That is actually a really lovely shade of purple. And with that now dry, we can move on to the next part. Slaughter Red. I'm using this on the drill. There's a brand of drills in Canada that are red, so that was my inspiration. I was thinking of using yellow. I'm going to use yellow elsewhere on the model, so I'm not going to pick it out on this one. This is just a bright bold red, you can't go wrong with it. The drill itself is pretty nondescript, it's just made up of some rectangular shapes. I'm calling it a drill, I'm not entirely sure what it is, it could be something else. Could actually be a pistol, now that I'm looking at it more. Is this a pistol? Is this a little spit gun? And I'm thinking it's a drill? That'd be hilarious if this is... Oh my god, it's a spit pistol, isn't it? Here I am thinking it's a Black & Decker. And it's a spit pistol. Oh, that's hilarious. Oh well, it's now a drill. Maybe I can use the rules of a spit pistol for it. I can't believe that only just sprung into my mind. It is a pistol, it's not a drill. Right, we're now on to dark wood. I'm going to use this on the handle of the meat tenderizer. I've blown my own mind by realizing right now that that's a spit pistol. That's just comical. Why did I think that was a drill? Is it a drill? Somebody drop me a comment. Maybe I'll put it up as a poll. Is it a spit pistol? Is it a drill? Anyway, moving on. I can't lose my mind over that one. Just taking a closer look at it. I think it's a pistol. Anyway, that's a lot of the colour now down on him. I'm not entirely sure about the pallid bone. It's be great on a skeleton. This guy is not a skeleton. Gonna have to warm that up. Right, moving on to Fire Giant Orange. I used this in another paint project, so we know what it looks like already. But yeah, I'm going to use this all over the coat. I'm going to leave some areas white because I want them to be yellow later. So no point chucking orange on top of it. I'm just going to make sure I hit up every little nook and cranny. I want to make sure there's a nice deep orange colour on all the edging. So I'm pretty much flooding the model with colour. This orange is a beautiful colour. I've used it on a couple of models now, one in the Strontium Dog range and on a Firehawk Space Marine. And both models just look amazing on my shelf. I also did the Clegg recently. Hope you will remember that paint guide. He looked amazing in his orange and white spacesuit. So I think maybe that's what was going through my head. I just didn't realise at the time. But yeah, I'm looking at this model and I'm just, ooh, it looks good. So exciting to see paint on a model. Obviously, this is not winning any awards, but when it's in a battle report, it's going to look pretty damn good. Just going to finish up this paint scheme and then we'll be right back. And with this last bit of paint, making sure I'm getting the right area, we are done with the orange. Look at that. He is nice. He's bright. He's bold. He's actually a big model. He looks bigger than some of my other Judge Dredd figures. Okay, that should now be drying quite nicely. Time for the purple alchemy. I'm going to use this on his hair. Been dying to do some pink hair on someone. This is the model for it. He's only got 2 sections of hair, so this is a quick, easy step. We're going to do this at the back. It's really going to pop. Pretty excited for pink hair. If I still had hair, or at least enough hair to dye it, I would go pink. It would annoy the hell out of certain people, and I love the idea of that. But I just think it would look badass. And then we get the little tuft at the front of his head. Not sure if this is a fashion statement on his behalf or if he just can't grow hair in certain areas. But he looks great. It's It's a great looking figure. It's got a lot of detail on it, which takes the speed paints really well. Like I mentioned, from 3 foot away, he is looking great. Even like from a foot away, he looks great in my opinion. Now we're on to Grave Lord Grey. This is for the base. You've seen me do it before, so you don't need to watch it again. We'll just skip forward a little bit. Okay, we tried to let that dry for a bit. I said I was going to use yellow. Changed my mind. I think I've been fully inspired by the Clegs. We're going to go for Holy White. Maybe this guy's a Clegg supporter. Maybe that's how he's broke. Now the best thing about Holy White is that it's not white, it's grey. So you just slap it on. Get it in there. So this stage that I found out that some of the orange was still wet. A little bit annoying, as you can see. But it all washes off in the end. Just took a moment to clean up that orange. And then just being a little bit extra careful in the deeper corners of his jacket where some of the orange might still be wet. Just keep working my way around. If it bleeds, it's not the end of the world. Like at the end of my day, this is something that I find enjoyable and relaxing. If there's a little error, there's a little error. Who cares? Now, I was very lucky that the part of his coat that I decided to use the white on actually had the most texture. Covered in lumps, bumps, grid markings. It really took well to this paint. I think this model, if you want to practice speed paints and you're not sure what model you should try out on, this is a good model. It's got a lot of textures. Got a lot of flat surfaces. You can full on try and see how the paints will run. Now you're probably looking at this model and thinking, wow, that's really grey. I would agree. Definitely ended up being a lot greyer than I had planned for. So I will be going back over it with some Corax white later on. And with the colour finally coming together, I think that is done. It's looking pretty good. I've basically got a base coat on everything. He looks bright, he looks colourful, he'll stand out on a table. There's definitely some touching up I want to do. So let's just let this dry for a minute. So as I mentioned earlier, was not happy with the colour of his skin. So I watered down some hardened leather. My thought process was to try and use this like a wash, make him look maybe like he's got a beard or shaved head, stubbly, but I did not water it down enough at all. As I was trying to dab it off, it definitely darkened down part of the model. There you go. I watered it down a bit more, gave him a bit of a shadow. And I really wasn't happy with how it was looking. I honestly didn't know what to do. I darkened down his cheek area, which was good. But his skin, he looked sickly. And that's not what I was going for. So I grabbed the ceramite white and started painting the coat because I didn't know what I was going to do about the skin. Sometimes if you're stuck on Slang, stop thinking about it. Don't think about it anymore. Move on to something else on the model that you do know you wanted to do. And for me, it was to brighten up the white. And whilst I'm doing this, I'm just thinking in the back of my head, what am I doing with the face? Looking at it on camera now, it's very yellowy. It's a little bit sickly looking. Doesn't look right at all. So whilst I'm distracting my mind by trying to not make a mess on this white, the background part of my brain is trying to solve the issue of the skin. Now this takes a little bit, so we are going to skip. Right, that is the white touch-up done. Looking a lot brighter, a lot cleaner. I'm liking it. I'm going to try and pick out his eyes whilst I'm here. I hate painting eyes. Don't know why I decided I wanted to do it on this model, but for some reason I did. So there you go. We now have googly eyes. He is looking Dawn of the Dead. I've been bitten by a zombie. So at this stage, you're probably good to say, hey, I'm done. Paint the base black. He is tabletop ready. Like I said, not going to win awards. I'm not here for that. I'm here to get paint on models. But I'm going to go a few extra steps just because I can. And we're going to start off with a classic move. We're going to use some Nun oil. Any black wash will do here. The goal is to darken everything down a little bit. Not grim dark it. Just darken it enough to pick out some more of these textural highlights that we got going on. Added a little bit of water to the mix as well, just to make it a lot thinner. Like I said, I don't want to horrifically change the color on anything. Just want to make sure the shadows are really getting picked out. This, I also learned from Mediocre Hobbies, will help seal in the speed paint. Ultimately, my figures will get matte varnished as well. But it's always good to have an extra layer of protection on it. I'm trying to avoid the white as much as possible. I spent too much time making that look nice and bright to knock it back with Nun oil. So whilst I'm going around the model, we can skip forward. Some final spot washing to pick out that grid icon. I've really watered it down now. Oh, gone out of focus. Done my best here to make sure that orange stays nice and bright. The white is still nice and bright. I've still got skin issues. It's a shocking thing to say, but I don't like the way that has come out this time. Grabbing the Abaddon Black, we're moving along swiftly now. As I painted his eyes white, I needed to pick out the pupils at least. I hate doing this. The brush feels like it's 50 times bigger than what it actually is. But I carefully and annoyingly try to get the eye in place. It's not the best job in the world, but it's the best I can do. There you go. He is tabletop ready. Got to fix his base up a little. Then after that, I did not like the skin, so I hit it up with some, forgotten what it's called now, Corax White. And then I put Crusader Flesh over the top of that, just to give it some life and some real colour. Also added a little bit of pink into the mix to make him look rosy. And hopefully you can see that in these final pictures. As always, I appreciate you stopping by. I hope you'll look at the community post for the Judge Dredd rules. And then make sure you hit like, subscribe, and drop me a comment to say hi. Cheers for watching, everyone.